Peace and blessings, everyone. So this morning, my youngest son, woke me up to take him to school, and he brought to me this homework assignment he had last night, which his mother and his oldest brother, my other son, had helped him with. And so they had a problem with it, and so they asked him to ask me to help him with it this morning. And what it entailed was reading the story about somebody through history. This one happened to be about who was it? Hans Christian, I believe it was. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, Hans Christian Andersen. And from reading it, it looks like they're trying to read a series of books, and it deals with now I'm not going to know what I want to call it, but this one has to do with, it said, the value of fantasy. So it's trying to teach a lesson on the value of using one's imagination, I suppose. So what I wanted was that they read this book. It was a story of Hans, and then it had an autobiography in the back of it. So he's supposed to read an autobiography and answer these questions. And so the question that they left him to ask for assistance from me for was, what made this person a hero? So I read through the autobiography. I read through it and talked about how he was poor and how he had failed at these things he was attempting to be, and how he ended up writing some poems and things of that nature. So I read it. Then I was thinking of a question: what makes this person a hero? And I'm thinking, well, what does make him a hero? And what I end up coming up with, and what I want you to keep in mind, for you out there that have children. I had a conversation the other day with my brother-in-law, and we was talking about outside influences. For one, I was saying how our present public school system is lacking, very much so, because it doesn't seek to teach our children the value of our existence. It doesn't seek to teach them empathy towards the world. It's all about teaching them so they can go out and get a job. And he brought up, well, the importance of what it is that we teach our children at home. That we teach them our own morals and values and whatnot. And of course that's true. Of course that's something all parents should do. But then at the same time, when we do that, they still are subjected to a vast amount of outside influences and peer pressures. And think of how many hours they spend at school. So we have the public education, and then you have their friends that they're around at school, and then they play with their friends. And then once they are grown and still, we instill our values in them, but then they're still fighting with this system that, depending on what our values are, could put them in a situation where they are basically an outcast to the system. They can go totally counter to the current system because of what they are taught, their values. And ultimately, I think that's what my children will be faced with, because I teach them ultimately that truth is God. And we know that truth is not held to the greatest of values as it should be. It's not. So, going back to this homework assignment. So what I came up with is, to answer this question, I told them the answer is nothing that I am aware of. because a hero is one who fights for truth. Now, so what do we have here? We have me instilling my values in him on this school assignment. So the question is, will this be looked at as a correct answer or an incorrect answer? And once again, this speaks to the battle between values taught at home and those at school. Because if I instill my values, and we should always instill our values within our children at all times. So if this answer is marked incorrect, then who is right and who is wrong? Is the school wrong? Because I guess ultimately they're trying to teach the value of fantasy imagination, which once again it goes back to what I believe this story was supposed to be telling. But even if they were trying to teach that point, the highest value for me is one who loves truth, fights for truth, believes in truth, stands up for truth, is all about truth. That's a hero. And so that would be a battle. I mean, if I was to constantly instill what I believe in, my values, and apply them to the work and questions that they bring from school, they would be marked wrong in some things because it goes counter, because my answer would go counter to what the school is trying to teach. And I've spoken this before, that we have to be wary of what it is the school is teaching, how it's brainwashing our children. Starting from the fact of them standing up, saying the Pledge of Allegiance, because it was interesting, and that and I think this is relevant, that last night while watching TNT Inside NBA, Chris Webber and Gary Payton was on, and they was talking, of course, about Barack Obama and the inauguration, whatnot. And Webber made a statement about Obama getting the country back to a place where we are looked on again as a leader of the entire world. And I've asked this before: at what point in the history of the United States were we a leader to the rest of the entire world? At our founding, we slaughtered a native people. We lied and tricked to them. We brought over slaves. They enslaved another group of people to come over and build this nation, and who helped build the White House, which this first black man's getting into. After slavery, we still had to go through Jim Crow and segregation. Remember that all these things just ended 40-something years ago. We are just now at the point of having our very first president. So at what point were we leading, a leader to the rest of the world? And I forgot to mention women's suffrage. At what point were we a true leader to the world, and not just a leader in our own minds or the leaders of this country, those who were in power? I guess it's all a subjective matter, because I don't see wherever a leader, other than leading in what is wrong, leading and showing examples of what is wrong or what shouldn't be done. One can argue, we led in leading the Industrial Revolution, capitalism and whatnot, but I don't hold those as high values. Not capitalism, leading industrial revolution. Well, that's just building. But once again, so this is something that will be taught to children in school, that the heroes of this country are people like Columbus, who discovered the Americas, which of course couldn't be done because somebody was here. So our schools aren't teaching the truth, the absolute truth. It's all subjective. And like I said, you know, we are just now electing our first black president, which if you really examine it, it was Obama caught the perfect storm. The only reason that Obama was elected is because he caught the perfect storm. The only reason that a black man was elected is because Bush was looked at as so inept, as doing such a terrible job, and it would be debated if he is the worst president in the history of the United States, that the United States is in such dire straits that people, specifically white people, said, well, how about let's just try something different, because McCain looks the same as the last one, so let's try something different. He caught the perfect storm. I know there's a saying, something about success is part, hard work and part luck. Well, Barack got lucky. God bless everyone. Peace and love.